So, hi Anusha, good evening.
Hey Sunil, good evening.
So, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah.
As I was saying, I thought today is Monday, but I realized that Monday was Christmas, so today is Tuesday.
So, as long as you didn't have blues, it's okay.
No, 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 no.
I woke you up on Sunday, Monday, and be like, oh, Pungi's podcast is there. So, if that was not on your mind, then it is fine. And the rest of the day would have gone chill.
Yeah, yeah.
So, I was just telling to before we hit the record button saying, I saw your LinkedIn post, it was too long. For a LinkedIn bio, it was too long. So, if you were to introduce yourself to the audience, how would you do it?
Okay. I can start from from the space where as a child. You know,
You started off with the Big Bang, and then then the Earth was formed.
no, Big Bang is
Sorry,
only the theory that I watched, the
the
series.
TV series.
So yeah, so as a child, I was very passionate about, railway announcement. I thought
Yeah.
that is something that I really want to do
It
for
gets
a very
more and
long
more
time.
interesting.
Yeah, yeah. And then I grew, and then I went into that, you're doing well, so let's do science. But I was still very, very confused. So I took both maths and bio. So I cleared some part of the AI PMT, which is the medical test, and I also cleared AI triple E.
Wow. So math genius, bio genius at the same place.
Yeah, yeah. So I used to love maths, but I wanted to become a doctor. So I've always been confused. So it's nothing has been very, very intentional, I would say. Then AI triple E, my dad said, see, boss, you join somewhere where I don't have to give any donation. I like, okay. The message is very, very clear.
So it's
So
simple.
simple. I like, okay, this year, where am I getting admission? So I went NIT Warangal. There I got chemical engineering. I joined. In fact, at that point in time, I thought, you know what, I would remain a chemical engineer for a very long time, right? I joined a fertilizer industry. So my father was also in chemical. He was in refineries. So he used to talk a lot about his work. So
Mm.
I was well versed with a lot of terminology even before I got in. But as soon as I went there, we were a batch of 6 people. Everybody is like, okay, let's start preparing for MBA. So we used to live in the township there, and then all our colleagues were there, and they're like, all these people are sneaking out somewhere with books after the after office hours. So it became a thing. People started talking about it. So we had to hide our books and go for classes. We did. Then I like, okay. So I cleared, again, I cleared couple of things. So I had HR at XLRI. I had general management at IMK. I had marketing at SP Jain, and I had advertising in Mica. So
Wow.
even those I cleared like 4 different ones. I like, okay, which B school is ranked the best? I like, okay, let me make it very short. People laughed at me when I took HR because I used to irritate my HR quite a bit. So when I went back and I said, you know what, I'm resigning. They're like, why are you resigning? Because I'm pursuing HR. People sat and laughed at me for 30 minutes. They're like, now you're gonna have fun.
Now we'll know what we are going through.
Yeah. So I went in again. I thought, okay, let me. So I picked this up, and then I went in Excel. Then 2 years I worked as 1 year was all this uh, rotational program that I had, and the next year I started doing my HR work, and then I got this very interesting call from a firm in Hyderabad. They said, you know what? We have a team of 30 people who need to be led. Would you be up for it? I was like, I have never been a manager ever. So it's your loss, not mine, your risk. So they picked me up. So they made me the head of talent management. It was like a 5,000 people company. So I became the head of talent management there. And remembering the name of 30 people was the biggest challenge I had. So you know what I did? I organized a TT tournament for all of them. Okay. So when they started playing against each other, then I like, okay, this is this person, this is this person. So it took me a week to remember the names. And then so couple of us had joined together. Um, but then they're like, this person can be used for other things as well. So they made me do blockchain sales. Okay, I am an HR person doing blockchain sales for the organization. I did blockchain sales, and then I did multiple things. So they said, okay. So I used to get these problem statements like, you know what? Never hired from campus, but we want to hire 300 people from campuses across the across the country. They're like, okay, is there anything else you're going to tell me? No, you go ahead and do it. So I used to be thrown such problem statements. So I did that. We hired from across multiple engineering colleges. Then they said, okay, now engineering is done. Let's do B schools. We're like, we'll set up a sales team. You hire 60 folks from across the top B schools. They're like, okay, let me do. I finished hiring. They're like, okay, now you manage them. I was managing HR, a bit of blockchain sales. I was managing the India sales team. They're like, okay, you should also head marketing. I was like, okay. So I've done like multiple things across in the same organization, and I kept getting so in the background, I was also getting married.
Oh.
It's like, okay. So I was like, okay, I'm setting up a new appraisal system, and my parents are like, we are waiting in the jewelry shop. When are you coming? I was like, wait, I have a deadline which I need to take care of. So I had
Hmm.
these like really funny encounters where so there I'm like a senior leader in HR, right? But I am in a jewelry store, I am in a store, I'm trying stuff out. They generally see me in formal clothes, t-shirt, your collared t-shirt and jeans, and all of a suddenly like I run into somebody at work. I like, no, don't come near me, please.
And
I'm
this is
trying
Anusha's
saris
twin
and
sister
jewelry. Sorry.
getting married. This is Anusha's twin sister. She's getting married.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. This is my twin sister. So yeah, so I kept getting promoted every year. I was the first person in I think 20 plus years in the history of the organization who was sitting in the same quadrant as the CEO.
Hmm.
So the
Wow.
organization, so it was a big deal. It was a big, big deal. But I also realized that the same thing everybody goes through is that my work-life balance had become really bad in the sense it started impacting my health,
Hmm.
which is when I was like, okay, let me try something else. That didn't work. So I thought, okay, let me take a break. I took a break, and I initially thought that would be like 3 months, but that kind of went on for a couple more months. And then a consulting assignment came my way. So that is like the beginning of 2023. I started consulting, HR consulting. In that, there were two requirements that popped up. One was coaching, one was posh. I was
So
like,
you did both of them.
yeah. So I picked them up like full steam. I said, okay. So I saw, watch some videos, grow videos, and all of that. I was like, I cannot do justice to coaching just by watching these
Hmm.
videos. Then I went that full loop, and then I landed up in, the coaching training and, going ahead and pursuing ACC. So I did that. Posh also, I did some research, and then I realized this is something I can do. Right. I picked it up, didn't one training, but then it went on well because I started working with, so now I work across cities. I have clients in Hyderabad, Bangalore, Delhi, Mumbai. So it's going well. So if you ask me if my career has been intentional, I'm sure you would realize that the answer is no. But I'm going with the flow. I'm like, okay, I'm having fun here and this is what I'm gonna do. So I'll take a pause now.
I am still at radio announcements. But wow. So if you were to take any other exam now, I'm for sure be like I've written the exam for this ACC, PCC as well as MCC. Choose which one you want. Oh damn, this is good. But yeah,
Yeah,
like I have seen that same pattern. No, you write, you finish so many exams and be like, oh, now what? And also the flow has always been constant. And I was
yeah.
like, okay, I did this, I did this, I did this, I did this. So That was amazing to sit down and hear. And we said we'll keep to the theme of career transitions and career transitioning.
Yeah.
So if you were to radio announce to the rest of the world saying what is the things that you should not do in career transitions, what is your first step in it?
What should not do,
Hmm.
right? I think what you should not do is be scared of taking the uh, jump, right?
Hmm.
Taking the leap. I think, and I know that sometimes it can be scary, getting into something new, but trust yourself and trust the process. So that is like my biggest no. Don't be afraid of even trying. Try it. If it doesn't work out, it's okay, is what I would like to say. Yeah.
Yeah. So like DDLG moment, you should have faith, you should run behind the train, jump on it,
Ja
have a leap
Simran.
of faith. So people will be like, oh, you can say it easily. The train is going too slow here. There's Shah Rukh Khan there. Kajol or Shah Rukh Khan, whoever is catching it. There's one there.
Kajol is catching it.
Uh, so one of them. Otherwise, we'll fall flat on that either the train or on the platform. So easier said than done. But yeah,
Yeah.
I agree with that. So jump. But I think it's always easier to say it in a single sentence. But
Yeah.
then when you say jump, I'm sure you have a background process in place that it's not as simple as, oh, I want to do this, just jump on it.
Yeah. So there were honestly a couple of things. So say for example, talking about taking a break, right?
Mm.
So even before I took like a formal break, in my previous organization, I realized that, I'm feeling burnt out. So I did approach my manager then saying that, you know what, I want to take a sabbatical.
Hmm.
And at that point in time, he said, yes, you can go ahead and take it, but I think you may not enjoy it. So I went ahead and continued to work, and then it led to the ultimate point where I was like, okay, I really need a break now.
Hmm.
So that happened, and that impacts who you are as a person, right? So
Absolutely.
one thing I've really learned is to trust your inner voice. If it's telling you something, even if the others are saying something else, you need to trust your inner voice. Because my inner voice told me, like, even 2 years before I took a formal break, that, you need a break. And I didn't do it.
The body keeps giving signals because I am coming back of a conversation with people that very close to me. They were trying to to understand my burnout space and why I've been in the anti-burnout space. And your first signals are your body. The body says,
Yes.
from now on it is going to get difficult.
Yeah.
And then at some point your mind gives way, but then by the time it is there, you're already at war. So your body is going against you, your mind is going against you, and then after that point, it is apocalypse all over again. So you'll have to
Yeah.
really start. And if then even then if you don't, then I think we headed down a hill that you're not coming back from.
Yeah. So see, I was in my 20s and I got thyroid, I got low BP, I got allergies, food allergies that I've never heard of. And that was my body's way of saying that, you know what, you need a break. Um, because I've generally not been that person.
Mm.
So yeah, I kept getting that signal, you need a break, you need a break. But I was like, no, I am enjoying my work. So that's the problem, right? You are enjoying your work, but it's getting too much for you. It's
Yeah,
not like you don't enjoy and you're like somebody's, it's not toxic work culture and all of that. It's just you being toxic to yourself.
yourself. I know. This is like eating too much ice cream. You are
Yeah.
enjoying ice cream, but then your body says, "No, you should also need other things other than ice cream." So
Huh.
it is like that. But I'm also curious of what is this diagonally yours?
That is exactly what it is, right? So my funda is that, not all career paths are linear or circular. You
Hmm.
can go any way you want, right? So you go diagonal if you want. So that's where diagonally yours comes from. The second
Ah.
thing around that is, somebody guessed it correctly. They asked me, are you a Harry Potter fan? I'm like, yes.
Oh,
So
okay.
it comes from Diagon Alley of Harry Potter.
Oh, My God, okay. Yeah, this is like getting one layer, like this is Inception level for me. Like, okay, first hit and then second. Go on, go on.
Yeah, yeah. So diagonally is I don't know if you've read Harry Potter.
I have, but I'm not such depth into it. I know there's Hagrid is involved somewhere. I go there, there's some owl thingy happens. That's all I know. Yeah.
Okay, to put it in very simple words, that it's one of the first alleys Harry Potter ends up in, right?
Ah,
So it's one of the first places he ends up in. It's called Diagon Alley.
mm,
So yeah.
yeah. No, I know of that Diagon ALLEY. So that's the place.
Yes, 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 yes. So yeah, somewhere there and this together. But
Mm.
somebody actually guessed it. So I was like, wow.
So you are the chosen one now.
Yes. Thank you.
Oh yes. Now Harry
Uh,
Potter reference is a good reference. What are you other than all of these hats that you wear? Bosch, coach, HR, and what's that? Bitcoin sales.
Blockchain, yeah,
Blockchain. Sorry, blockchain. Not
yeah.
Bitcoin.
Yeah. Uh, Same difference, yeah. Hmm. So what do what am I?
What am I
I
other
think
than these?
oh
Alongside these.
I am a lot of things other. So I think this whole tendency comes from like my father has always been in a transferable job,
Mm.
right? So anything I wanted to pursue, it used to be like 1 to 2 years of each, and then you move on to something else. So I have done like a lot of things. So I did a little bit of Bharatnatyam, a little bit of Kuchipudi, and then a little bit of Carnatic singing, and then badminton is something that I really enjoy. Badminton, dancing, um, but yeah, now in recent times it's like fitness. So I also got certified as a Zumba trainer
Okay, so now
in
coaching and
between
Zumba
all.
are going to come together.
You can dance off things. But yeah, I got certified in between all of this, right? I also got certified as a Zumba trainer. Like, let's do that also.
So I think I'll have to ask you, where does Anusha find time? Because I think you're getting it somewhere from diagonally, or like some magic wand is being spelt and you're like, oh, now I have so much of time.
Yeah, it's a it, so it's also it's like a curse also, because you're interested in so many things, right? So yeah, it sometimes becomes harder to focus. So on the nose, if I have to go back, one of the things is you figure out how many things can you do by yourself, right? Because as fancy as working for yourself sounds, you have to do everything from
Yeah,
the grunt work of generating the invoices, or creating the material, sending the pitch, writing on LinkedIn,
yeah,
making the presentation, raising the invoices, following up on it, making the agreement, and then
everything.
making the presentation, having references, making your business card, making your website. So yeah, earlier I had a big team to do all of those things. So I was like, yeah, can you do this? Can you do this? I was like, yeah, I can do a lot of work. So yeah, a big no is figure out if you are if that's the job for you. Are you okay to do with uh,
Yeah,
okay with doing all of that, and are you also okay with so I was like in an HR head place, right? So I was earning quite a bit. So I know that even to reach that level of income, it'll take a lot of time.
yeah, it'll take a lot of time.
So yeah, it's so the no is also, don't jump into it without figuring out if you have what are your finances, what is your
Yeah,
safety net, what are you capable of doing. So take a
absolutely.
shot, but don't like jump and not know what to do
Don't
next.
do it as a breakup rebound. So
Yes. Don't do it as a breakup rebound. Very well put.
otherwise, because uh, everybody is like, oh, I'm really not happy with this job, so I'm gonna quit.
Yeah.
So in that phase, if you're taking a decision, it's a sure shot failure.
Yeah.
It is.
In fact, interestingly, this was one of my coaching conversations
Mm-hmm.
where someone, so because I talk about transitions, right? So someone actually said that, you know what, I want to make a decision for my career, But I truly believe that I'm currently so full of emotions around it right now that I don't want it to impact the decision that I make. And I don't think everybody comes with that sense of clarity,
Yeah,
honestly.
yeah. I think even to have that awareness, I think that is a lot of inner work already.
Yeah. So when someone said that, I don't want emotions to affect the decision that I make, I was like, this is beautiful.
This is a good thing. I think, yeah, also when you're a entrepreneur or in the coaching space, when you're running everything in life is a LinkedIn post waiting to happen.
Yeah.
Does that happen with you, or is it only me in the club?
No, no, I have like other things also. Even like when I'm watching Netflix, I'm like, okay, this can go up on LinkedIn.
Oh, yes, because I was watching a few Korean TV series,
Ah,
and I was like, how do these guys get that particular? See, it tugs you emotionally. Every series tugs you emotionally, and how are they getting it right? So I was trying to decipher that. So I was like, when I decipher it, this is going to be an LinkedIn article.
yeah,
So when that happens, I think it is like that. So you have to constantly keep on being present
yeah.
outside, and even with your own peers. I think I see you put a lot of these very interesting and very good WhatsApp statuses, saying get unstuck with Anusha. So what is the difference between diagonal years and getting unstuck? Is it
Diagonally is more like for corporates. It's a more corporate positioning. And this Unstuck with Anusha came to me and I was just about to fall asleep. I was like, these two rhyme. They're like Anusha and Unstuck. They're like, there is some ring to this. So I was like, let me try this. And that struck a chord with a lot of folks.
yeah.
And I've come to realize that the unstuck thing is like it's really catching on with people. And I was sharing with you before we started, right? That I have had folks from different parts of my life who have pinged me in the last 3 months, whom I have not spoken to probably in like 7 years, 8 years. And somebody from school, two people from school pinged me. That is like, yeah, that is a lot of years. Let
That
me
is
not put out the exact number of years, but lot of years.
I think you've given us a slight hint. So you did your engineering, then you did MBA, then you worked in a corporate for to a certain extent that you are near a CEO, then you quit. So you've given us a general framework of calculating possible age
Yeah.
spaces. But yeah, age is just a number. So
Yeah, yeah.
sometimes when I'm talking with experienced coaches, no, I'm like, whenever I say I am a new coach, I sense that cringe moment in there saying, I am not old. They're like, then I have to do course correction. I'm like, okay, yeah, let me do that.
Yeah.
And I think also like when you're doing career transitioning, how is it for you? So what do you like you said it's not an intentional career shift. So whatever came your way, you move.
Hmm.
So how do you know? Like you had four options with even with the management studies, then you had two options with going whether with IEEE and AICT. No, no,
AIPMT. Yeah.
AIPMT. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So AIPMT, I didn't clear the second one. Okay. So I have some fundamental rules that I follow. It's like, okay. So first, dad said that I'll not give donation. Second is like I didn't want to take a break at that point in time. But like, okay, getting to study in a decent uh, institute. I was like, "Okay, let's go with it." So yeah, that's how always it has been. And then I go ahead and stick to what I'm doing. I'm okay with that. So I've never had like, oh my God, I should have become a doctor. No, don't go back and then start questioning all of that. That has never been a part of my process. So I think that helps.
Mm. So everything in life has led you to be who you are, led you to this conversation between you and me.
Exactly.
So what do you do when you are like, I've heard of this POSH, so prevention of sexual harassment in the office place. And how does that work as somebody who's going in as a consultant or somebody with that certification to an organization?
So see, to explain the basics of it, right? Every organization with greater than 10 people, whether men or women, it doesn't matter. Even if you have 10 men, right? You're supposed to have a committee. Okay. And every committee is supposed to have an external member.
Okay.
So I enlist as an external member. So I work with multiple organizations. So when a case happens, you need somebody from the external fraternity to be a part of that, right? So that is one part of it. There are other things which are mandatory, say employee sensitization. So they need to understand what is sexual harassment. It's not like, it need not be very explicit, right? There are a lot of implicit things that also come in. And yeah, you have to train the whole committee itself. So they need to be aware of much more, right? They need to understand the law. They need to understand what they're supposed to follow. Because if someone is unhappy with how you have performed, because one, you have the rights of a civil court as per the act. So any committee that is sitting, right, you are an extension of the civil court.
Okay.
So it is serious business. The second bit is, if you don't do your job, right, any person who's unhappy with what you have recommended can actually sue the committee and the organization. So then the organization has to pay a heavy penalty. So yeah, it's compliance to begin with, but I am a lot more passionate about it. Honestly, for me, the buck doesn't stop at, doing the checkbox activities. For me, it's important that people understand the spirit of it, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And to me, the kick is in making such a serious topic digestible in a way that people are also involved in the session. They shouldn't be like, oh my God, I'm scared. I cannot do anything now. It looks like I cannot send a WhatsApp forward. I cannot give any gifts. I cannot ask anybody for dinner. Like, no, I don't work with creating fear in people. My funda is create awareness and tell people what their rights are. Right. So I tell them, so if you do something, you're not happy with the outcome, you can go and appeal in the court. Don't worry about it. So I tell them everything that's there for them. So because even in my corporate background, I've always been a part of the committee. And in the end, I was like the presiding officer of the whole committee. So I have immense corporate experience. So I'm not like a person who's coming from outside and then doesn't understand what happens inside a corporate. So that is like my advantage, I would say, because I can relate to what people are saying when they're talking about things.
Yeah,
Right?
absolutely.
Yeah.
I think that plays a major aspect. So I asked this question, and also like some of the things that I'm distilling is that even when you're doing a transition, the transition is sometimes there's already some ground has already been set in. So you worked in that particular space, and now say an opportunity comes by in that area, you're moving into something. So it's not it's not a one and zero space. So you moved it up. It's more than binary.
It is definitely. See, even now, most of my business comes from people who worked with me before or who are aware of my work, who know what I bring to the table. So I have one client in Mumbai, and Mumbai is filled with. There'll be a lot of people who are probably even more competent, I would say, right? But I spoke to their leadership, and that person is like, please don't talk to anybody else. I want Anusha to be onboarded, right? So it's important that people understand what you bring to the table. So for me, it is easy because most of the people who are scouting for like a posh member and all of that are come from the HR fraternity. And of course, because of Excel, I have a huge network. And the second part of it is I've worked with very large teams within Hyderabad, right? I started with a team of 30, but when I became the HR head, my scope was much larger. So most of the leads come from people who are aware of my work ethic, what I bring to the table. Mostly because they're like, okay, we need somebody who will not be afraid of the leadership. So let's let's bring in somebody who will speak the truth and not be afraid of the leadership. They're like, fine. So if that works for you, even with coaching, that's the case, right? Because even coaches will be scouted by HR folks in the organization. So at that point in time, when I go like full flow, right now I am like in a much slower mode right now. But when I go full flow, I know that I can rely upon my HR network. So it's related, it's a related field. It's not like completely different.
Mm-hmm. It's
Yeah.
not like somebody who's doing, say, uh, working as a professional doctor, suddenly now moving to, okay, I want to work as a plumber. So
Yeah. It's
there's no delta as huge as that.
yeah, yeah, it is not as
Um,
huge.
yeah, and I think, Anusha, like somewhere I can sense that you're playing on your strengths.
Yeah, yeah.
How strong of a space is that, playing on your strengths in, say, any career transition that we're doing?
Uh, see, the one thing I generally tell myself is, um, I know my fundamentals, right? I don't jump into things without knowing my fundamentals, and I know my background is different. And as we speak, I still have like the copy of the law right next to me.
Mm-hmm.
So even though I went for like a certification and all, that was I wanted to be sure on what I am bringing to the table, right? So I work very deeply on my fundamentals, and that is where my confidence stems from. I will just not go ahead and say that, I am this expert, I am that expert and all. If I'm saying something, I believe that I have the backing of my knowledge and my experience.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the strength. And I think one, uh, if I've always been in in places where I have been a minority as a woman, I would say, whether it be so I grew up with a brother, and I told you we used to do WWE and choke slam and all of that. Uh, Even with sports, right? I've Even when I go and play badminton, I would see that, across the court, there'll be like just one or two women, not more than that. But I'm quite used to that kind of odds. I worked in a fertilizer industry where they did not even have uniforms for us. So we had to go buy the cloth and stitch it for ourselves.
Oh.
Okay. So I've been in those kind of odds, and being comfortable with that also makes a lot of difference, right? I know that I'm not the representative of the majority in that space. So, but I'm very comfortable with that. It doesn't play on my mind. So even when I'm taking, say, I took the first session on sexual harassment I took, this was an interesting conversation. Okay. So my father, I finished the session, I came back, my father is like, so how many men were there in that? I said, so I said there were no women in that. It was all men. So he assumed that I'm doing this sensitization session only for women. Like,
Mm.
no, it was 40 men.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah.
I think true that. I think like one of my observations in any place where the awareness on any of these activities is happening, it's a very secluded event. Sometimes the entirety of the organization and entirety of the team is not involved, and it is those small gray areas is where the slip happens.
Mm.
Any places that you're now looking at, because Women's Day we hardly have men participating, and Men's
Huh.
Day though is like
Yeah, I know.
nowhere in the conversation at all. And even we have seen women supporting women groups, but then there
Mm.
are very few where like everybody is supporting women in the space.
Mm.
So I have been part of such conversations and such equations where, like, okay, I want to contribute to, say, women in the workplace, having, say, leadership or breaking the glass ceiling. But
Mm.
then it suddenly becomes like, hey, okay, it's only a all women affair. So you're not invited, or you may
Yeah.
not be heard. So I am like, oh, that is weird, because here
Mm.
I am trying to be part of the inclusivity, and I want to genuinely support.
Mm.
But why is that there's pushback? So these
Mm.
are also conversations I have. And so
Yeah.
when you said all men, I was like, oh, okay, this is exactly what should happen. It's not a checkbox thing. Men need to be involved in I think men and women generally, I think all like all
All
genders,
now I would say all genders.
all genders. And
And
sometimes it's very
non-binary folks, so everyone.
so I've tried to stay ahead of the curve with the, say, the LGBTQ plus that is
Huh.
there. I think, and until LGBTQ I was fine. But then plus it becomes really confusing. But I'm like learning. It's not that
Yeah.
I'm saying I don't know and I'm keeping it off the this thing. And I think that's what you do also with Posh thing. It's not a It's not gray anymore. It's not black, white, and gray. There's so many colors coming into it.
Yeah.
But how's the conversation? So you take that forward. I think you are sharing an anecdote and I went somewhere else.
Okay. Uh, Actually, I don't know what I was sharing, but yeah. Uh,
How often does that happen, Anusha?
no, so one of the very interesting things right now is the two spaces that I'm in, right? Which is Posh and coaching.
Hmm.
And I have to operate like in the complete opposite spectrums when
Correct.
I'm here. So in Posh, I have to talk quite a bit
Absolutely.
because it's about sensitization, it's about conversation and people talking about their experiences. And you have to bring it out of them. So you have to nudge them, you have to talk to them, and so it's a lot of talking,
Hmm.
right? And it is advice as well. So when someone says,
Correct.
okay, this is what is happening, what should I do? Or how do I go about this? So it's a lot of advice and all of that. Coaching is like the complete opposite of it, right? He's just listening and then enabling.
Oh yeah,
So
absolutely.
yeah,
Absolutely. But I think there are places where I think things can coexist even with say training and coaching coming into the equation. Specifically, be like the skills are transferable. So
yeah,
I am remembering of the map. So in the map, it looks like like the places on the left side of the map and the right side of the map are like completely away, but I think they are more closer than you think.
yeah,
Spherical structure.
yeah. So I had been wondering, like, what is it that unites these two? And I feel passionate about both, right? The one thing that I've realized that both of them are about is creating a safe place for people, right?
Absolutely, absolutely.
So which
Psychological.
is where I've realized that I think that's where my passion stems from, like creating a safe place in a larger scale, which is where Posh comes in. And then this is the safe space for individuals to talk about. And so, yeah, safety is like the bit that is coming in for
Yeah,
me.
yeah, yeah. So you're using it as a coaching. You're using this podcast for coaching. Like, oh,
Yeah.
I found a theme.
No, no, no. I've been pondering about this for quite a bit. So, yeah, I have realized that it's like safe space, both
Yeah.
places.
No, I think that is there. I think that is there even in conversations we have with friends, we have with people. Uh, Generally, everywhere there's a need for psychological safety across the world.
Mm,
I think even even with expressing say dissent towards somebody or
mm,
agreeing to disagree spaces, I
yeah.
think those places we need psychological safety. And the work that you continue to do with Posh and coaching, I think there maybe is another structure saying how do we do negotiations.
Oh my God. Negotiation. It's like conflict management, right? You've never been taught. And honestly, I think 4 out of 5 conversations that I have eventually boil down to I don't know how to say no to things. Right? And I say, why have we not been taught this? Right?
Oh yes, oh yes. I think and somewhere I feel that the entire ecosystem is contributing to it. It's not like a fault of parents, it's not a fault
Correct,
of
correct.
the school education system or the system that we are currently in. I think it's a completely new curveball that's been thrown at us, and we'll have to figure out how to work with that.
Yeah.
And first acknowledgement is where it is that oh it's a curveball.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I've been very stronger space about the psychological safety space, even in
Mm,
our conversations. And I think conflict management, like you say, like the space of I don't know how to say no, stems also from say somewhere when I am offered a chocolate and I've said, oh, I'm not going to eat the chocolate for the entire year. Like, oh, that's a chocolate. It's a really good one. Should I? Should I not? Should I? Should I not? And they're like simple decisions in life are also very difficult to for us to even choose.
yeah.
So choosing something at a high pressure space is going to
Mm,
be like a real nightmare.
yeah.
Yeah. But as coaches, we bring that space of safety and all that. So I'm very hopeful of the future of all the skill sets that we have, and also using that somewhere, enabling coaching, enabling awareness.
Mm, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So,
Mm.
any other anecdotes, Anusha? So, I am a glad listener of anecdotes. I love listening to them.
So not an anecdote, but one of the things from a career break point of view, right? So
Mhm.
honestly, while I was very comfortable with it, there were like it took me a lot of time to talk to others that I'm on a break,
Mm.
right? So it was a very confusing space because I've always been known for the achievements I bring in, right? So yeah, so now I'll give you an anecdote.
Yeah, go on,
This
go
is
on.
again going back to childhood on why I started studying.
Oh, okay, interesting. Yes.
So back in Delhi, there was this ice cream parlor because we were talking about ice creams as well. There was this ice cream parlor called Nirula's. Okay, and they said that if you get 90% and above, you'll get a free ice cream. So you had to bring your report
Oh.
card and they'll stamp it with Nirula's and they'll give you this like huge ice cream. Okay, so
Mhm.
there was this 1 year, and so I went with my brother, right? He got the ice cream, I didn't. I was what? I am like in senior KG or something. And like,
Motivation started from there.
yes, motivation started from there. It's all about food. So I said I want my own ice cream. My dad said, take it from your brother. I like, no. So my dad said, I'll buy it for you. I like, no, I'll get my own ice cream. And next year I did.
Oh,
So
wow.
yeah, I bribed myself into studying.
Oh, damn. So, yeah, I don't think I have any story that remotely matches that. But I would have loved any organization in Bangalore would have done saying we'll give you a masala dosa or we'll give you something if you get some percentage.
Arey,
Sadly, that
they
didn't happen.
started doing this also. So amusement park, there was this amusement park called Apugar. So the
Hmm.
ticket used to be $100. They're like, whatever percentage you get, we will
Give you
subtract
the
it
discount.
from 100. And you can, just enjoy the amusement park. It's like, oh my God, so much motivation is coming my way. But now, yeah, I would do that for a masala dosa or a ghee
Oh,
karam
yes,
idli.
yes, yes, yes. So, like, if Vidyarthi Bhavan started doing that, I think Vidyarthi Bhavan would be out of business. Saying 97%, okay, chalo, 97 discount. Crazy. But yeah, I think now I have an idea in my head saying, okay, maybe I should also do that by my coaching. Or
So,
depending on your
yeah.
appraisal, you will get discount. A percentage of hike this year is going to determine how much discount you're going to get
Oh
in
no,
a
it'll be a
conversation.
double whammy.
Oh, damn.
So yeah, so that is my motivation to start achieving, but that continued from a momentum point of view.
Hmm.
So yeah, it's like I know these are like conversations that people start having that I'm more than the achievements that I bring to the table, right? So at that point in time, I was completely okay with it, but it was a much harder conversation to have with folks around you. It could, they may still want the best for you,
Yeah.
but you would have that in your mind, right? At that point, I was not exposed to coaching. Otherwise, I would have just picked up a coach and spoken to them. But yeah, so that break part was very tough because you're like, okay, I'm used to working these many hours, and this is what I bring to the table.
Yeah.
I've been doing this for so long. Suddenly, I've
Absolutely.
taken a break. I don't mind. Like, I have enough activity to engage
Keep you
myself.
occupied.
Yeah, yeah. I watched Game of Thrones, unfortunately, including the last season. If I had not watched that, I would have
Yes,
been
yes,
okay.
yes, yes. So, at least with more than Harry Potter, I think GOT is a lot more still familiar, still on the face. So I see you, I hear you.
Yeah, yeah. I watched all series that I was supposed to watch over.
Yeah,
I like Breaking Bad, I have to watch. Game of Thrones, I have to watch. I finished all of those as well.
yeah,
But that conversation was like very tough. But I think it was much tougher in my head than the actual conversation
absolutely.
because anyone I spoke to, they're like, okay, we have your best interest in mind. But it also always comes back to you on what next,
What
right?
next? Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think
So that
questions are a big format. And I
yeah.
think questions, like you said, questions you're asking yourself, and sometimes you're not getting the right answers even for yourself.
Mm.
Those are tough moments, any career transition.
Huh. Yeah. And then having the right support system, I don't know.
Mm.
You have to, anybody who's getting into a transition also has to evaluate.
Absolutely needs to. Absolutely. And it doesn't always have to be family, doesn't always have to be friends. But I think like I had a two space formula saying people who are going to help you are either those who wanted help and did not get it. So they're like, let me get at least not what happened to me. I don't want the same thing to happen to the others. They'll help you. And there are others who have been in the same position, got help, and they're like paying it forward.
Hmm.
And the other part, which I introduced very recently into this spectrum, is people see something in you and they're just drawn to you and they want to push you forward. So all
Hmm.
three would be there. Don't look at support as only the initial family, because
Correct.
family will always have a connection. They'll always have a question mark. And they'll always have history saying, "Oh, in this you failed, in this you failed," but they'll come back with all these there. And yeah, so these support system is a must.
Yeah. And what I realized is that the connections that you build at work, you would truly know if they're like real connections after you leave the job. Uh, and then
Absolutely.
in the last 1 year, right, when I started pursuing independently, right, I have realized that I've built connections which are a lot deeper,
Yeah.
right? The connections go a lot deep, just from coaching or even through LinkedIn. Like I've reached people
Mm.
who've reached out, we've connected and we've had very deep conversations. And that was one thing that I always used to feel that, I don't have the right network, is something that I always used to ache. That's like beginning of 2023. It wasn't like a resolution that I took, but it happened quite naturally that in fact, last year, December is when it started, where we went on a trek, right? I always used to think, I don't know any good lawyers. And then in our trek group, there were two lawyers, okay? And one of them actually, he represents at the Supreme Court.
Oh,
And
wow.
when you trek with them and you are there with them for like three,
Mm.
4 years, that 3, 4 days, no phone signal,
Yeah.
that connection is much different,
Much,
right?
much amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So a
And I think,
professor from IIM Lucknow was there, and then so it was like a very varied group, and that is when that whole building a network thing started for me, and it's beautiful. My first project came from an NIT Warangal alumni,
mm,
who had been following my work for a while. So
yeah.
different networks suddenly started coming together, and it was beautiful to watch.
Absolutely. I think like even when you're sharing, I can sense that vibe. Oh, right. Everything clicked, everything set together. And
Yeah.
sometimes, your intention will, like what I've realized in the 1.5 years I've been out of the corporate sector and doing things on my own is there's a larger power somewhere that's either like giving you certain challenges to say, okay, this, you should go through this, and somewhere it is going to help you later, or it's clearing your path and putting people in the way that it essentially is enabling you moving forward.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
from moving forward point of view, of course, this is like much deeper, right? It always used to be, what position are you in? How many people are you managing? What is your salary? No, I'm not saying I'm not in for money. I would love to have some money. Not denying that at all. But suddenly I'm also realizing that, like, I spoke to somebody I shared a room with for uh, a better part of 2 years, right? But
Mm,
then you lose connection. Then because of coaching, we got connected, and I learned so many things about her. And I was
absolutely. Yeah.
like, we used to spend so much time together, but now I am learning so many things about her, and that I think is beautiful. That you cannot buy.
Cannot, absolutely cannot. No
Yeah.
amount of ice cream is going to buy you that.
No amount of ice cream.
Because I think that's also like even with any support professional, therapy, consulting, maybe less with consulting, therapy, mentoring, coaching is going to give you that sort of that bubble space. People are free to share,
Hmm.
and it's almost as if I've been waiting for something to come up in my life where I need a mentor or a coach or a therapist, and I need to get it out of my system. So there,
Yeah.
I've had so many such experiences. I think first two sessions only been listening. I think only when everything is out of the system, they're like, oh, now I'm ready. Okay, now I'm telling you what my problem is.
I
So I've
know.
had such conversations.
I've had like sessions where someone is just speaking for the whole hour. So I was like, okay.
Yeah. And then the only question you asked, which was hitting a marker, was how are you feeling now?
Yeah, exactly. How are you feeling now? And they're like, they'll sigh and they're like, and I've had this with that unstuck poster that I was talking about. I've had people who said that, since we saw that poster, they were, I was about to write an email first. I thought, okay. Then I thought I'll ping you. Then they'll suddenly call out of the blue. They're like, you know what? And then there is this big boulder that they'll drop on my head. They're like, this is what is going on in my life. And and they're
Yeah,
very, very serious conversations. Like,
big
and
time.
there is a version of the person that where they're presenting to the world, I'm smiling and I'm happy and everything is going gaga and all
Yeah,
of that, and
well.
suddenly you're like, okay, I read your unstuck poster and this is the shit show I am a part of right now. It is also yours. Please keep it with you. I was like, okay.
Yeah.
So I've
I
had
think
like
the
boulders
skill.
dropped on me mid unexpected. They're like, can we
Yeah.
talk? Like, okay, we can talk. That's it.
And then it happens. But I think what is also like a skill set that I picked up is to hear it, but I think also to park it. It should not affect who I am. Maybe
Correct.
even not affect the next conversation that I'm having with somebody else. But I
Yeah,
think that's a skill that practice gives you.
of course.
And you have to revisit that and come back and then be like, oh,
Mm.
I know whatever has happened in the last session, come back. And
Yeah,
then, whatever has happened here, put it somewhere else. And you will have to also somewhere remain
correct,
psychologically safe. So you don't want whatever is coming from any direction to not affect
correct, correct.
you, that presence and all that.
Yeah,
Yeah, very, very interesting space. But also like these, I think somewhere when you're talking about all of these, coaching provides you a space to have a conversation.
exactly.
And it's a conversation maybe with yourself because you're telling something and you're finding something. That
Mm.
conversation itself, me being the 90s kid,
Mm.
I think TV phones were like a sensation, a trend in the early 2000s-ish.
Exactly.
So for us, like a lot of years has been spent in sitting, conversing, going deeper into conversations,
Yeah,
talking. I think vulnerability has never been a problem.
yeah.
So we can be like, this is not working. Yeah, I've eaten too much now. I feel like puking it out. So like the puking out sometimes happens verbally in terms of, oh, I think I have too much in life. So
I know. Yeah, as you grow, it becomes verbal for
it
sure.
becomes more verbal. I know, like you're taking in too much and then you have to give it up somewhere.
Yeah,
You can't.
yeah.
I think you can't delegate emotions. Wow,
Huh.
I write this down.
Wow.
Yeah.
The aha moment for
The aha moment, yeah. So podcast ke liye aha aa gaya. And
you
then you have to
can't
be like,
delegate.
Sunil, what do you now want to do? What are you getting aware of? Yeah.
Yeah.
Any other questions, Anusha, that you feel you should answer today?
Honestly, I know I started with saying that, these are things you should, this is how things went for me, but I truly believe that everybody has their own journey, and
Absolutely.
you have to respect the journey. You have to respect your inner voice. If it is telling you something, do not ignore it. I shared one instance, but I have like 10, 15 instances where I ignored my voice and I know what happened and what happened when I trusted it. So never let your inner voice go, uh, right? And sometimes uh, people may or may not stand up for you. So it's important that you stand up for yourself.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Mm.
True, true. I think these are two huge things that you dropped at the end of the podcast saying, hey, you should look at this. I think
Yeah.
your inner voice is the compass that's guiding you. And yeah, that you should always keep it alive. The inner voice, inner child. I think you can give it your own interpretations. And you will have to stand up for yourself because in a place where things get ugly, if you have question marks about the intention and the journey that you're setting, I think it's very easy for the other side to just the membrane is very thin
Yeah.
for something like that.
Yeah.
And burnouts, question marks, and anything else, you can get either unstuck with Anusha or you can get unstuck with Nimma coach also. Perfect segue to at least pause, say, Anusha Pungi conversations in episode 1.
Yeah.
And then we'll be back. So the deal is that Anusha is the guest, sorry, is the host for the next podcast.
Yes.
And we'll see. It's also a thought experiment. We'll see how this goes. And we'll come back with more episodes as and how we progress. So thanks, Anusha. Thanks for your time.
And
On a
thank you for listening.
Tuesday, that's not Monday.
On a Tuesday, that's not Monday. Yes.
Yes, cool. Yeah. So let's catch up and let's do the reciprocal.
Yes, I'm looking forward to it.
Awesome.